Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I am your host, Andy, and I am joined, as always, by our editor, producer extraordinaire, Fish.
Hello.
And Hannah.
Hello.
Who is here to tell us about... What are we talking about today, Hannah?
I was going to talk about Lizzie Borden.
Sweet.
Yes.
I have heard... There's a rhyme.
Yes.
Do you know the...
Of course I do. That haunted me for years as a child.
Really? It haunted you?
Lizzie Borden was the first thing that, scared me as a child.
No kidding.
The idea of her. I, left my house after watching a morning news program about her. It was, on the anniversary. And, just couldn't even be in my house alone.
Wow.
Wait.
At the age of, I don't know. How
old were
Too
you?
little to be alone.
It was last year, Fish.
No, I was young.
At that point, Hannah had so many murders in her fandom that Lizzie Borden is quaint.
So everyone knows Lizzie Borden killed her mom with an axe. She hit her 40 times.
Lizzie
and then
Borden
she hit her dad 41 times.
Took an axe,
Thanks for listening.
Gave her father 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, gave her mother 41. And
so
that's it.
That's it? We're done?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. You can email us. I feel like there's more to the story.
There's a little bit more, you could say, for sure. So, Lizzie Andrew Borden was born July 19th, 1860. It's my brother's birthday, actually.
Wait, her middle name is Andrew?
Yes.
It's weird...
It's her father's name.
Okay. All right.
So,
Coolest people are named Andrew.
He didn't have any sons, so...
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
I think. I don't know. But I also know several different women, from older times that have their father's name.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool stuff. Either way, she's one of 3 daughters, and Andrew Borden himself was a Fall River native and was part of, kind of the wealthy elite of Fall River.
Yeah.
But he himself, after he grew up, it took him a little while to actually gain his own wealth and stature. And
so he didn't come from money.
He did come from money, but his family wasn't here you go throwing money at him. They definitely had things to offer him, but he had to build up his own. I don't know. I don't want to say empire because he wasn't didn't have an empire.
He had to kind of establish himself.
Fortune. Yes, exactly. So, and not that he didn't have help. He was still definitely better off than most when he was working on himself, trying to find himself. And still at a pretty young age. They were talking about when he married his wife. They married at the age, he was 23. I'm not quite sure how old she was, but I think around the same age. And
yeah. So they were young. Yeah,
they were young. And, that's kind of when he was starting to really get his wealth and, establish himself. So he found several different ways of making money. He was quite the entrepreneur. Different manufacturing businesses that he owned.
.coms and that sort of thing?
Yeah. Or, think tanks? Are those
think
real
tanks,
anymore?
Yeah, sure.
Were they ever real?
He wrote an app.
Yeah. He became president of the Union Savings Bank.
Oh, man, I want to make an app now instead of Flappy Bird or Stabby Liz.
She didn't stab Andy. It was...
but,
It's like
Choppy Liz? That doesn't have
Well, it's funny because we'll get...
I mean, spoiler alert.
Yeah, right?
All right, let's get back...
Anyway, I won't spoil it that much. Either way. So, president of this bank. He's also treasurer of another bank, and then he just really gains his wealth with property development. He was... people said they were he was really fair, stern, straightforward, just a sharpshooting kind of
good businessman.
Yeah,
fair, but no BS.
Yes, exactly. Okay. That's how he was kind of described in that society, whatever you would call it. So because of him really working towards his wealth, he was also became a really tight penny pincher. Mm-hmm. And like I said, he married his wife Sarah from Somerset at the age of 23, and after 5 years they had their first daughter, Emma. And later they had their daughter Alice. I think it was just 4 or 5 years after Emma was born, and she died of hydrocephalitis. If I think I said that right.
What the hell? Do we know what that is?
That was the thing
Water on the brain.
Water on the brain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Billy Quizboy.
Oh, okay.
And so she died 2 years later, and then 4 years after that, Lizzie was born. Mm-hmm. Just about. I might have gotten the math wrong, but 1860. Yeah, that works. So
there are 3 daughters, but only 2 survived.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Sarah, the mom, became a little sick a couple years, just 2 years after Lizzie was born. And she died of uterine congestion, which I had no idea what that was. So I did look.
Is this a real thing, or is this like an old timey?
So
she died of hysteria.
Yeah, so I thought it might have been that. No, it's a real thing where you're usually more susceptible to it when you've had children, multiple children. But what it is like enlarged veins in your pelvis area, and it essentially, I read like more recent medical terms on it or whatever explanations, and it can be super serious. Like, it can pretty much throw off your entire blood flow to your body, and
okay, so it's a legit thing.
Yes, exactly. So I was thinking,
I was listening to a podcast the other day where they're like, oh, you can get nostalgia.
Oh.
And it's like a disease, and I'm like, that's...
Yeah, there was a ton of stuff like that, and they were like, we'll bleed them, and I mean, that honestly...
Go through it for a while.
She could have, like... This is in a time where, like, bloodletting wasn't not used, so...
Oh, sure, yeah.
I could imagine she's just got this, like... It would, like, really, like, hold blood in an area where it should have just been, like, moving through your body.
So it's almost one of those rare cases where it might have actually helped.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I wonder if, like, any treatment might have killed her.
Oh, yeah. And then they're just like, oh, no, it was totally that disease.
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
And then it had something else in her death certificate. It was disease of the spine, and it doesn't actually explain what that means or if it actually had anything to do with her death.
Old-timey medicine is weird and vague.
So that threw me off a little bit more as far as, like, how those things were connected. But either way... she passed away in 1863, and they had already lived in the house, which is 92 2nd Street in Fall River. Mm-hmm. So they've lived there for a little bit, I believe, since Emma was a baby, or maybe even before she was born. 2 years after Sarah's passing, he doesn't find her. He just happens upon Abby Durfee Gray, and ends up marrying her, like, pretty shortly after they meet. Abby's 32, a little bit younger, not by a whole lot though, and she becomes the girl's stepmom. So Lizzie's real young. She's a baby. She's 2. So she has the potential to grow up and not know anything else as a mom.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, two's little.
Is it Emma is the older one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Emma swore to her mother on her deathbed that she would take care of Lizzie and just be, like, act as her mother. So to get this woman in her life 2 years later, she was, like, pretty not happy about it. And she really loved her mom. Like, her mom was really noted as being really caring, sweet, kind, affectionate to them all, like, everyone, and her children specifically. So she was just not happy with Abby. And Abby, like, was really nothing but nice. Mm-hmm. That, from what I hear, like, there was nothing wrong with her. She wasn't, like, an evil stepmom.
She just wasn't mom.
Yeah. Like,
she's the other one.
Yeah.
She's the not mom.
I feel bad. She got, like, I don't know. They didn't even give her a chance. So Emma hated Abby, and then therefore kind of pushed that onto Lizzie. Mm-hmm. So Lizzie grew up, I don't think had any, like, real dislike for her, but just reflected her sister. Reflected her sister's feelings to an extent. I think it took a little while for Lizzie to actually feel a sense of, like, hatred towards Abby, supposedly, allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly is the golden world. Supposedly it would work too.
Right? Yeah. So Emma, after a few years, she's substantially older. So she goes away to school. It's, I want to say seminary school, but it's not that, because that's just for guys.
Priests.
Yeah, but it's like a religious school.
It's the female version?
Yes.
Okay.
But, like, probably for nuns, right? What's that called? It's not coming to me, and I didn't write it down.
Convent?
No.
No, it was a religious...
Sister Act, starring Whoopi Goldberg?
It was that school.
No, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
Okay. So anyway, that's totally in it. She didn't go to nun school, so I have that mixed up in my head.
She didn't go to nun school? That sounds like the worst. She didn't go to any school, Hannah.
She went to she went to a school.
She went to a school of some sort of religious
She went
doctrine.
to it was a Wheaton College.
Okay.
But specifically for religious intentions. But God, if that word could come to me right now. It's not gonna, so don't worry.
It's not gonna be as funny as if it did.
So let's move on. So she was actually only in school for a year and a half, but this kind of gave Lizzie some time to be with her stepmom alone without her sister's influence. And there's honestly some mixed reports, stories about Lizzie's feelings about her mom. Some of them say that she really disliked him, and some of them say that like they were pretty close. So it's hard to say. None of us were there.
No, I'm not that old, guys. Sorry.
So she's just whatever about Abby, really, as far as I can tell. So once her sister's back, they're just living their life, and I mean, nothing eventful really happens to them until they're adults now living with their father and stepmom. So Lizzie is described as fearlessly honest, straightforward, passionate about what she believes in, and extremely strong-willed.
Okay.
So, like, I think just very blunt, if she called it like she saw it, or maybe, like, she's also described as a little bit awkward.
Okay.
So, I don't know, aloof in some cases, so if she wasn't interested in it, she just was like, whatever.
Sounds like you're describing my daughter. Or, I don't know, teenage girls.
She wasn't, like, at this point, this is through her childhood, but now, like, that's, like, how people perceived her as an adult in the community, too. So, which, I mean, she was in her 30s, and her sister was, like, close to 40, not 40, by the time the murders happened.
And were they both unwed?
And they were both unwed.
It's a weird thing, isn't it?
So, like, she very well could have just been, like, immature.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of getting away with some stuff. They were both very active in church their whole lives. They taught Sunday schools. They were in, like, several different clubs that involved... she was, like, a really good...
She was an axe throwing,
yeah,
axe sharpening,
wood cutting.
Yeah. She was really good at needlepoint, so she was involved in certain things like that. She was part of the Fruit and Flower mission. She was a treasurer for the youth group church thing they had going on for, like, kids.
So even if she was aloof, she was still active and involved.
Oh, yeah. She didn't have a job.
Yeah.
So these two ladies were just, like, outreaching in the community as much as possible. And, like, in a time where there's no social media or anything, telephones are not, right? Like, you had to go out and, like, talk to people.
Things.
Yeah, and do things.
Lizzie was like, /tag.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
All right.
You can't see the face palm, but just assume it, okay?
Oh, man. So, like I said, they remained living at that house on 92 2nd Street, and they were given an allowance. I believe it was like $20. Was it either $20 or $200? This is one of those funny little factoids that was a little different.
Vague.
A little vague and different everywhere you looked. Are you looking it up, Fish?
Are you going to do the
I'm just doing the
math.
The math.
The math. And it, whatever it was like ended up being a decent amount a month. Like in today's terms, it was something around like $500 a month, whatever the equivalent was.
I mean, that's not much.
Well,
they're still living at home.
Literally sitting at home doing like whatever.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty happy with that.
You would think so.
I guess. Yeah, you would think so, right? Yeah. I guess beggars can't be choosers. So, or you can.
Yeah.
You can choose.
I can choose.
Like I said, Andrew was very frugal. So the girls definitely felt that they were only allowed to, like, buy a certain amount of dresses a year. They ate, like, very cheap food.
Ramen noodles.
Pretty much. Mutton, the equivalent of ramen noodles, right? They lived without electricity or plumbing, which by that time, like, someone with their amount of money should have definitely had. Like, it wasn't, it wasn't, like, an unpopular thing. You had to be, like, in pretty despaired like poverty to not have that in your house. Like like a lot of it was not uncommon.
So it was weird that they didn't have it.
Yes, it was definitely weird. So it was around maybe like a year before the murders that Abby's half-sister was in financial burden and going to lose her home. She was getting evicted.
So this is the half-sister from the new mother.
Exactly.
Okay.
And who by this time is not very new.
Yeah.
So
Well, true.
Yeah, it's been
New is a relative term.
20-something years.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the new sister.
So, she asks her husband, Andrew Borden, if he can help them out at all. He ends up buying the property for Abby's stepmom, which is how she has her half-sister. So they don't.
Okay.
They have the same father, not the same dad. I mean, not the same mom. So they... he ends up buying the house for them, and the girls hear about this, but like it wasn't because Andrew told them or anyone told them. They ended up finding out about it because of like
Gossip.
Yep. So they were pissed, and they talked to their dad about it, confronted him, and they were like, "Why can't you like do stuff like that for us? We're your actual family." Yada yada yada, and he ends up giving them the house that his father left him.
So it wasn't that he was intentionally excluding them. It was just he was trying to help someone else, and then his other dad was like, "What? Like,
Yeah.
WTF?"
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So they were mad, and he gave them a house. He sold them a house for like a whatever the dollar
Like
sale.
The dollar.
The
Yeah.
dollar sale kind of thing.
And they didn't even live in it. They kept living in the house, and they rented out the house that he gave them for several
They
years.
sound a little ungrateful.
It's for several years. Probably not several years because this happened the year before or whatever. So they rented that out. Well, actually, that would be one of those weird factoids that I ran across that is varying between resources.
Whether they rent it out or live in it?
No, that they had it for several years, but the incident with Lizzie's stepmom getting the house happened like not that long before the murders. In
that's
retrospect,
weird. Oh, okay.
yeah, one of those like weird timeline things that
Yeah.
doesn't exactly match up depending on what you're reading. Anyway, so they rented it out, so now they had an income from a free thing that
Wasn't
they
free.
got.
They spent $1 on it.
Yeah, 50 cents each. So
I know. Hey, $1 in 1920 is worth like $50 today. So
all right,
yeah, that's still really cheap for a house. I don't really have a good follow up.
all right, that's not terrible. And he ended up actually buying the house back for them. I couldn't find out why,
Yeah, that's weird.
but like a little bit before he died. I don't know how. I wonder how much they charged him for it.
$4,000.
Yeah, they old man. So, as we know, Emma never liked Abby as a mother and never referred to her as mom. She only referred to her as Abby, which back in that day was like a big dig at someone by not like saying like Mrs. Borden or whatever. And Lizzie, who I guess at some point in their life did refer to her as mom, when she became an adult, referred to her as Mrs. Borden or Mrs. B.
Yeah, like even when I was a kid, like if there was an adult, if they were close to your family, they became aunt or uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And if they weren't, they were still Mr. and Mrs. And that was like not that long ago, Fish.
I called people by their first names, I think.
Yeah, but you're still younger than I am.
I know, but I think like neighbors, I'd be like, "Hey, Mrs. So and So."
Oh, I suppose there was a couple people.
Yeah,
But not that many.
I don't know. I guess I was a rebel.
Yeah,
So-
well, we know that.
So they weren't the only ones that lived in the house. They have a live-in maid, Bridget Sullivan, and she was from Cork, Ireland, and she started working for them in 1889. She'd been with them for a little while. And she was pretty well liked by the family. It's rumored that maybe Andrew was tough on her because she was Irish Catholic and not Protestant, and he was like a really just a through and through Yankee. Obviously, we all know the reputation Irish Catholics had back then.
What is the reputation, Hannah? What are you saying?
So
Sounds like somebody hasn't listened to our Irish in America episode. Andy.
I didn't. I didn't listen to it. I'll have to go back and listen to it. Sorry, Hannah.
Okay.
No,
I'll go back and listen to it.
Like, we put in hours of work, and you just swan through. It's cool.
So, she, for the most part, was the girls called her Maggie. That was her nickname. And she saw a lot of the tension that was between the family. So, Emma and Lizzie didn't eat with their mom and dad. They just, weren't cool with them. Mm-hmm. So, it was, you could, cut the tension with a knife.
Yeah.
Or an axe.
Or an axe.
Oh. And
40 times you could cut that tension.
Yeah. And it was thick. You had to. So, they, like I said, they didn't eat together. She thought that was weird. She just was coming across, a lot of, very funny instances with them. One of which was the burglary that happened prior to the murders. And the house was, quote-unquote, broken into, but it was really just the father's room that was broken into. The nail was used to pick the lock, and $80 in cash and $30 was taken in gold. That was, a gold watch, and, something else that he had that was gold.
So, it was picked from, the inside of the house?
Yeah, they were in the house and, got the door open, but, no other signs of burglary. Burglary. So that was suspicious, obviously. And Andrew immediately assumed, and nothing else was stolen. No one.
Yeah, that's super sketchy.
Yeah. So Andrew assumed that it was someone who lived in the house. He
probably assumed it was the Irish maid.
He might have. So from
Andrew.
That point on, they made a rule that all the doors in the house would be locked, and if you left a room or whatever, you had to lock the door. The exceptions to that were the parlor and the parlor into the kitchen into the dining room, because those were used often. So, where was I going with that?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. Okay, I'll find out.
Right. So there was a theft. There was a burglary.
Yeah. Okay, I gotcha. It's the pigeons.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's.
Everyone knows that's.
There's always a pigeon before a murder.
So they had a flock of pigeons that was kept in their barn, and their barn was used for multiple things. That's where they went to the bathroom and their outhouse area was with the barn. Where they got their water, so the well was over there.
Because you always want to go to the bathroom right next to your well.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't a Boy Scout, but I assume that's a thing.
So yeah.
You always try to pee downstream.
And they had some pigeons, and
were these homing pigeons, or is it for squab? Squab's pigeon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It didn't really say why they had them, but. They had them, and apparently a couple weeks before the murder, because there had been a couple other random instances where the barn had been broken into that weren't really talked about, and nothing was really taken. But Andrew was sick of it, Andrew Borden, and he thought that killing the pigeons would send a message.
Sure, to other pigeons.
Sorry, his plan was to kill his own pigeons to send a message to the guy breaking in to steal pigeons?
His claim was, that the pigeons were the only thing of worth. So I was maybe they were the letter carrying type.
Carrier
pigeons.
Yeah.
And so that could have been...
Maybe they were metagaming pigeons.
Maybe they were just really cool pigeons.
Too much of a deep cut?
The overlap... Who are people who are going to hear this joke and get that joke is literally you and I.
All right. Well, I made it for you then.
Thank you.
So, and apparently, I shouldn't say apparently, because this is hard rumor that Lizzie was the one that took care of the pigeons and really loved them.
You mean took care of them as in bang, or took care of them as
just really took care of them, was the one that was responsible for them and loved them the most and showed them the most attention. That's hard rumor though. That's not
I don't want to jump ahead, but she is kind of an animal person.
She is an animal person, yes. So that's not unbelievable, right? So he thoughts that maybe Lizzie was acting out, and Andrew may have killed them to get back at her.
No, that's petty.
That was the rumor, but it's more than likely that he killed them because he thought people were breaking in to catch the take pigeons. And he's like, if I can't have them, no one can, apparently.
Why not just sell the
It'd be a weird thing to steal a homing pigeon.
Because they'll just go back to
right, because they're just going to go back. I feel like that's kind of stupid.
If you've got all the pigeons, and they're probably not all, like... I mean, don't keep the pigeons that go to your house.
Do you have to, like, file, like, a change of address with the pigeon office?
With the pigeon council. Yeah.
The pigeon council. So cute. Okay. So,
they're cute but tyrannical.
So, the pigeons died. They didn't make it out of that. Andrew left.
Were they killed with an axe?
Andrew showed no mercy. Is
this foreshadowing?
He had a hatchet.
Ah.
So that was suspect. Not for Andrew, obviously. Yeah. Because that ended up not working out for him, but... Maybe.
Yeah, him owning an axe definitely didn't work out for him.
And a few days before the murder, so now we're kind of getting close to when it actually happens, the whole family was sick.
Yeah.
It's also been said that it's because of some old mutton that they ate, but it turns out that, like, the mutton was made that morning, and Maggie thought that it might have been some swordfish that she had served them that wasn't good when she cooked it.
Oh.
Either way, it sounds like this family was just, like, not covering their stuff or throwing it in the icebox whatever they had.
They weren't, like...
They
didn't have electricity. They were peeing next to where they got their drinking water.
They weren't good at using the money that they kept making, because it's...
They probably wouldn't be wearing masks right now, is what I'm saying.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, I don't feel like hygiene is there.
Yeah, but mainly because I don't think they would buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an added expense. We don't need it.
Yeah.
I'll just not leave the house.
Yeah.
Now, go get me a drink of water and pee while you're out there.
Oh, my God. So, anyway. So, yeah, they think they're getting poisoned. I think Abby goes to the doctor, and he's like, I don't know, but you're probably eating bad food. Like, the doctor doesn't think they're getting poisoned at all. The doctor also lives, like, right across the street from them, so I think they're, like, fairly close neighbors.
He's like, I've seen where you poop. Don't do that anymore.
Close as in, like, I think they're, like, fairly friendly with each other.
Well, I mean, generally, you at least are relatively friendly with the person who lives across the street.
Especially back then. Yeah, like
generally speaking.
Not now, but definitely then. They were close with their community and neighbors, especially. So
especially if it's the town doctor.
Yeah.
You make close friends with the town doctor if he's right there.
Yeah, you gotta. So on August 3rd, John Morse, which is the girl's biological uncle from their mother who passed away.
So their mother's brother.
Mother's brother. He comes unannounced to talk business with their dad, Andrew. So they have several, like, business ventures together. This isn't, like, a weird thing for him to show up. They're in contact with each other. He comes by and hangs out with them often. He has other family in Fall River, so it's not like they hadn't seen him in years or anything weird like that. Like, he's definitely a part of their life. But it was an unannounced visit because he was going to be in town anyway.
Okay.
So he comes along. They tell him he can spend the night, and he has several, like, business topics to talk about with Andrew, one of which I think is, like, an exchanging of property that they were doing. And I should say Emma is staying at a friend's house in, oh gosh, where was she? Like, not Fairhaven.
Okay.
I was like, she wasn't far, but she was far enough, you know?
Far enough for an alibi.
Yeah. So she was there for a couple weeks.
I was conveniently far enough away.
So she's hanging out with her friend for a couple weeks, and all this goes down while Emma's not home. So it's just Lizzie, Abby, Maggie, Andrew, and their uncle. And no pigeons, unfortunately. So,
which is really the tragedy.
I think so.
Yeah, the pigeons didn't do nothing to nobody.
No.
No.
It's the day Bert cried. No? Don't get that reference? Bert, Sesame Street, kept pigeons.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. No. All right.
I'm going to continue forgetting about
it.
Too bad. Move on.
So, August 4th, which is my mother's birthday.
How convenient.
I know, right? So, everyone got up and had breakfast. Lizzie was a little late to get that going. But again, she didn't eat with the family, so it wasn't, like, that weird. So the uncle, Abby, and Andrew all had breakfast together. Maggie got that prepared for them. And around 8:30, they went into the parlor to just talk, chat it out, let their food digest.
I mean, they didn't have electricity or TV or anything, so, like,
right.
That's what you do.
So, John tells Andrew that he had some stuff to take care of. He was supposed to be buying an ox, maybe a yoke of oxen. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Maybe 40 yoke oxen? Yeah. Was he moving Plymouth Rock?
What was he doing? Anyway, so that was like 200 years before this. Anyway, he also had to visit his other niece in town, so he would be back around noon. And Andrew says, all right, cool. I need to take my walk soon anyway. So they part ways, and Abby and Bridget start cleaning the house. Bridget is asked to... Bridget or Maggie, however you...
The maid.
Yes, the maid, so everyone knows. She is asked to clean the windows, like every window in the house. Mm-hmm. And I guess she was bumming because she still didn't feel good. And Abby was going to, like, clean whatever mess was made from they're having their guest over, the kitchen, whatever.
Abby, the new mom.
Abby, the new mom of 25 years. So...
Yeah. It's a relative term.
Yes.
Newer mom.
Newest
mom. Newest mom is upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mom 2 of 2.
And around 8:45, 9 o'clock, Bridget goes outside and gets sick because she's, like, just still not feeling too hot. And after 9 o'clock, Andrew, that's when he leaves to go on his walk. His daily walk, I guess he takes it every day. He walks like 4 or 5 miles, whatever, and he runs errands along the way. And Abby needed to, like, make the guest room up again because someone stayed there last night.
Oh, right, the uncle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Bridget was collecting things she needed. By the way, guys, I'm getting into the timeline of the day, in case you didn't notice.
All right. No, I got it.
I realized I went from, like, just telling you background.
But that's kind of why I was, like, the maid and the...
Yeah.
So I kind of want everyone to be clear on who's where.
I feel like I'm sometimes good at announcing the next part of the story.
I'm just terrible at names, so it's like... Especially when you're like, Maggie and Bridget are the same person. That does not help me.
Yeah, as opposed to, you know...
The maid.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, just because you're the only one involved with this who only has one name.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, we're in the day, folks. Just keep that in mind.
The day.
This is the day.
So Maggie is outside puking. The maid.
Yes, but now she's going to collect all the things she needs, which is, like, mostly stuff that she needs from the barn.
Okay.
So
where there used to be pigeons.
Correct.
Okay.
So now it's 9:30, and 9:30 in the morning, and that's when she sees Lizzie for the first time that day in the kitchen through the window.
Okay.
And Bridget told Lizzie not to worry about locking the door because she was going to be around the house doing the windows outside.
Which is already breaking the rules.
Definitely.
Bum, bum.
And Lizzie was like, all right, cool, and went to go do her own thing. So, which it was ironing, essentially. Well, she was supposed to be ironing.
Killing her mom.
Oh, my God. So, it was supposed to be ironing, and at 9:30, between 9:30 and 10:20, so considering how old this case is, there's really good, like, time stamps of everything that happened, which is cool.
Yeah.
So 9:30 to 10:20, Bridget went outside and she's washing the windows. By 10:30, she's inside now to clean the windows from the inside. Mm-hmm. And Andrew had returned from his walk, but his key wasn't working on the front door. So Lizzie... No, sorry, not Lizzie. She comes up, but Bridget goes to help him because she can hear him, like, struggling.
Bridget the maid.
Bridget the maid is hears him, goes to help him.
Okay.
And when she's at the door with Andrew trying to get it unlocked and, like, fidgeting with it, every single thing about this says that she swears. She's like, she swears in Gaelic, and I'm like,
sure. Oh.
Yeah, I just like that. That's a detail that carries through every single.
Like every report is like she'd drop like the F-bomb.
Yeah. I don't know. I was like, interesting. Okay, not relevant. I
feel like that's just throwing shade at us poor Irish immigrant people. Not that I'm an immigrant, but
yeah,
my ancestors were.
So,
they like to swear.
Oh yeah.
She was probably drunk too.
Anyway, Bridget gets the door unlocked with him, and she actually ends up testifying later that she can hear Lizzie. She's certain it's Lizzie.
She's like, I definitely swore.
Yeah, she just wants to seem cool. Yeah. So she is like, after I swore, I heard Lizzie laugh. Anyway, so she hears Lizzie at the top of the stairs, which we've been in that house, guys.
Yes, we have. Fairly recently.
Yes, it's not like too far of a distance to be able to like hear. She thinks she hears her from the top of the stairs laughing.
No, if someone was up there, you'd hear them.
Yeah. And so she actually ends up testifying that she knows for sure it was Lizzie. She heard her laughing from the top of the stairs. And at some point when they get in, Lizzie's now in the kitchen. So that's kind of where it gets fuzzy. Yeah. As far as details go.
But there are different stairs.
There are.
Yeah.
But if you remember, all the doors need to be locked. So if Lizzie was coming down the front set of stairs, she would have passed by Andrew and Bridget. Okay. So it wouldn't have been less of a theory that they heard her laughing at the top of the stairs. It's like, yeah, Lizzie laughed and then she walked down the stairs.
Yeah. But couldn't she have gone the other way?
But her dad's door was locked.
Oh, they did all. I just kind of assumed they all had keys.
So that's the thing. Her dad left a key out on the mantle after that first break-in to like show like, I know it's someone in this house, and if like
I'm gonna leave this key
daring
here.
Them.
Yeah, like go ahead.
So she could have very well have grabbed that key if that's like a known thing, and he was like, he's not home, like he's not gonna find out, and she's like, he's definitely not gonna care in another hour or two. So, so if that's a known thing, then she could have grabbed the key to come down the other side.
Yeah.
And lock the door behind her, obviously. But, like, in theory, if the door had remained locked and she didn't have a key, then that's kind of like...
Then she would have had to come down those front stairs.
And they would have seen her, and then it wouldn't have been, like, a guess that she was laughing.
Yeah.
They would have known.
They would have been like, what are you laughing at?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, what...
What's so funny?
Yeah. So, they get in there. Andrew ends up talking to Lizzie in the kitchen. Like I said, she's supposed to be ironing, like, napkins and handkerchiefs or something like that.
At this time, is the mother already deceased?
So it would be like 10:45. So very likely, yes. Within that.
And the father wasn't like, "Why are you covered in blood?"
So there wasn't any honor.
Huh.
At any point.
Yeah.
But Lizzie's story has some wiggle room for her to like change.
Okay.
Which she does like a couple times. She gets weird with her clothes. Anyway, so he talks to her in the kitchen for a little bit, and then he goes and lays down for his nap. And like I said, Lizzie is supposed to be ironing. She's doing that in the room right next to it, the dining room. Mm-hmm. And she tells Bridget that while they were busy doing whatever, Abby received a note about a friend that was sick that was calling Abby to go see her sick friend. It's like, hey, come by. I'm not well.
You need an alibi.
Yes.
Get out of there.
So Bridget is still not feeling well, went upstairs to rest. So like I said, it's like 10:45 now.
Yeah.
And then heard Lizzie scream at like 11:10.
Oh, so she went upstairs at what, 10:45?
Yeah. So she didn't like lay down for very long.
20 minutes later.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she hears her scream. And she's like, what the heck? And comes down her set of stairs. So she lives on the same side as the Mr. and Mrs. Borden.
So she comes down the back stairs.
The back stairs from the third floor. She comes running down, and Lizzie's like standing in the doorway, so she doesn't actually go into the parlor. She's in the kitchen.
And then she's like, I swore again.
I just let him rip. It was crazy.
That Maggie, she swears like a truck driver.
Yeah. And Lizzie says, there's something very wrong with my dad. You need to go get the doctor. And so Bridget runs across the street to get the doctor and came back to find Lizzie still like standing in the doorway. So the only part this doesn't describe is whether or not she came in the front or the back door.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see what door now Lizzie is now standing at. So if she came back and got through the front door.
Did she come through? Then she would have had to cross through the parlor to be blocking again.
Unless she was standing in the doorway of the parlor, like to the hallway.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, if you walk into the front door of the Borden house, it's a set of stairs are on your right?
Yeah.
And you kind of walk through
and then the left is to the parlor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if she's standing there like blocking it and still doesn't know what's going on.
I just find it weird that she's like, something's wrong with my father, go get the doctor, and it's just like, there's no...
I just
what? Or like...
something wrong.
Yeah, something wrong is kind of vague.
I mean, he has had his head...
bludgeoned.
There's blood all over the place. There's something wrong is that very, very overly polite way of saying, oh my God, please get help.
Now, does Swearin' Maggie say that Lizzie was covered in blood at this point?
No.
Okay.
She actually never says that.
Okay.
It's on record that she's like, she had a clean dress the whole time.
Okay. So, murdered two people, totally clean.
Which is weird because the timing with
violently murdered
with her father's death is cutting it very close to her having been able to change between it.
Yeah.
Like Maggie lying down, it happening, and her calling her down is only, like you said, 20 minutes. So,
right. Yeah. And this isn't like jeans and a t-shirt. This is like...
She had some layers.
Layers and bodices and
petticoats
and whatever the hell girls wore at that time.
And all sorts of fun stuff.
So... Maggie asks her, like, where have you been, like, since this happened to him, that she still doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know that he's dead. And she said, I was in the backyard and I heard a groan, and then I saw that the screen door was open, and I came inside and I found my dad.
Super dead.
Who needs a doctor. Like, she's still not, like, saying it.
Super dead.
Yeah. So Lizzie asked Bridget to go get her friend, Alice Russell. And Mrs. Churchill is their neighbor. And she hears all the commotion going on. Like, hears the shouting, sees the maid running in and out of the house. And Mrs. Churchill is like, hey, everything okay over there? And Lizzie says, yeah, come on over.
We're all just killing over here. Swing by, bring your own axe.
Yeah, and was like...
BYOA.
She told her, she said, someone killed my dad. And Mrs. Churchill was hella creeped out, would not go into the house, and was also scared and confused, obviously.
Yeah.
And she asked Lizzie where she was. She's like, well, where were you? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And she said she was in the barn looking for a piece of iron, which I got more specifics on. She was looking for, like, waders for her fishing rod. Like,
sure, yeah.
Like
sinkers.
Sinkers, yeah. Not waders, sorry. She was just looking for some sinkers. She was going to go on a fishing trip in a couple weekends with the girls.
So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
Were all these wounds that killed the mother and father, say, like, below knee height? Maybe like it was a pigeon revenge killing?
Oh, no, none of them actually.
Andy, don't be silly. Pigeons can fly.
Oh, good point. Good point, Fish. Good point.
Yeah.
But can you fly an axe at the same time?
They are carrier pigeons.
Andy, I can't fly, so
what
I
is
don't
the
know.
average speed or airspeed velocity
it would carry the
of
hatchet.
an unladen hatchet pigeon?
How
it would carry
much
the
weight
hatchet.
can a pigeon carry across the ocean?
See, these are the questions that need to be asked.
A
It would carry
coconut.
in the dorsal guiding feathers. It's fine.
Anyway.
We grasp it by the handle.
Yeah. So, Dr. Bowen finally arrives. And Mrs. Churchill is still up in arms and, like, super creeped out. And Dr. Bowen comes in, and Lizzie's like, check it out, my dad has been stabbed to death, which is, like, such a weird way to say it. Because when you look at the pictures, you're like...
It's just, like, blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's usually don't stab people in the head repeatedly.
Sometimes you do, depending on who you
mean,
are. It's not going to work out well.
I mean, okay.
But I mean,
not like you, Hannah, but like the rest of us.
But it's also one of those things. Like,
it's not my style.
If she's
the term is MO
inadvertently tipping her hand that she was involved, would she have said stabbing when she knew it wasn't stabbing?
Oh, true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So do you think she didn't do it, or she's just trying to cover herself?
It's a funny way to play dumb.
That's for the end of the episode, Fish.
She's just like...
Calm down.
He got stabbed. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a good dumb playing down, being like,
and the doctor's like,
and be like, is that an axe in your hand? She's like, no, what? No,
stabbing.
What? No.
Don't you know how like life is?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he calls the police.
She's like, this is Fall River. Stuff happens here all the time.
Yeah, he calls the police, and because he goes to feel his pulse, but he knows he's very clearly dead.
Yeah.
He does note that the body's still warm. So it
was super, like, it just
super
happened.
recent, yeah.
Literally. So, like, he goes out of the kitchen, lays down, and is murdered on the couch where he was going to take his nap. I think I forgot to say that detail. So,
no, you did.
Okay, good.
Because I was just like, ooh, nap.
Yeah, he was taking a nap on his little couch in the parlor. So, Lizzie said that she was busy that morning because obviously now all these questions are flowing in. She said she was busy that morning ironing, and she was heating up her like iron. They used to have to heat it up on the stove to get it hot enough
because they didn't have electricity.
Yes, and she said she got bored of doing that, so she left the stove on and went into the barn and then like goofed around for several minutes.
But she kind of has a penchant for being aloof and kind of
true.
Flaky.
That doesn't sound out of character.
She also asked, like, when the doctor is like, he's dead, where's your mom? And she goes, good question. I think she left to see her friend because we got this note, although no one ever delivered it to her. And also, she might have come back. So someone should go check for her. Like, almost exactly what she
was
said.
Dead tired when she got home.
Yeah.
Dead tired.
So she she tells someone to go find her.
Yeah.
And she thinks she's up on, like, her side of the house. And Bridget and Mrs. Churchill go. And poor Mrs. Churchill was like, I don't want to. And they're like, you're a part of this. We're making you a part of this.
She's like, but why?
Yeah. You're coming in this house.
Witnesses, that's why.
Yeah.
You
Let's
are
go.
here, and you're not sending that poor Irish girl by herself.
Yeah.
Because all she's going to do is swear if she sees somebody.
So she sees Abby's body, like, as soon as they get to that part. There's a part in the stairs at the Borden house.
About halfway up if you turn your head to the left.
And the doors open into the guest room.
You can see under the bed.
Yeah, you can see out straight in.
So that's when they get sight of the body, and Mrs. Churchill is like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Going back down the stairs. I'm not going up there. And Bridget runs up there because she's knows.
The maid.
Yeah, she's the maid.
Yeah.
But also she's knows.
She's like, oh my God, I have to clean this up.
No, she knows. She knows this.
Actually, she was like, F-bomb. I got to go clean this up.
She swore, and then she went to action. So she runs up there, really just to see if she's okay, because she has no idea what's happened to her at this point.
Yeah.
And it's this person that she's lived with and worked for a long time. Yeah. So
they're probably reasonably friendly.
Yeah. And they, or not, really depends on what you read. So,
sure. Okay.
She sees that she's dead or not well. She can't make that assumption. She's not a doctor, but she's like, things aren't looking good up here.
Probably not okay.
Yeah, she's not looking good.
Oh dear, that's a lot of blood.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's found on the other side of the guest bed, like furthest wall away from the door. And I guess when they found her, it's not in the crime scene photo, but there was a yardstick next to her that they think she was using to flatten out the bed.
Oh, okay.
Because she was making it.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, that's
more effort than I've put into making a bed.
Yeah, but
those were my thoughts.
You're not old-timey.
No, I also
don't make my bed, so
yeah, it's
any effort is more effort than I make.
Modern science is we're better off not making our bed.
I don't know about modern science. It's
and
just
also,
like,
why?
I'm going to sleep in it in 12 hours. Why am I going to bother?
Yeah, it's kind of a moot point at this point.
Yeah. Well, she made the bed, and it was the last she ever made.
See what happens? Making a bed leads to death. Don't do it, people.
Yeah, so does napping in the living room, apparently.
Let's not be so hasty.
I'll never get a wink of sleep in the living room again. So, Lizzie, at this point, it's noted that the police are there, and it's noted that she's just like lack of agitation, concern, or just general, like, and showing any sort of emotion you think someone would show in a situation like that. So, she tells the police what she was doing outside while whatever she was supposed to be doing that whole morning. And
Yeah.
she said, well, I was supposed to be ironing. I got bored. We talked about that a little bit. She's like, I remembered I had a fishing trip coming up in a couple weeks, and I wanted to find some sinkers. And so I was looking for some iron to use in the barn. But then when I got outside, I found some pears off our pear tree. And then I decided to go up. They had like a loft in the barn.
Yeah.
So I went up to the loft of the barn, hung out, ate my pears. Then I found some stuff to like look through. So I looked through some old photos.
See, I find Lizzie very relatable because you're like, I'm going to go check my email. And then like 4 hours later, you're like, was I going to check my email?
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of down with what Lizzie has to say here because I feel like I can relate to that. Being like,
Lizzie
I was going to do
had-
work and then I decided not to and go look into something that might be fun and then got sidetracked by snacks.
Lizzie
and,
may or may not have had a undiagnosed case of ADD.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
As there's a lot of...
Or just be a person who's like, I don't want to do work. I want to go do something fun.
Yeah.
And, ooh, snacks.
Yeah, pretty much. So the police started asking her questions, and Lizzie said that she feared her father had many enemies just with whatever business dealings he had. And she did mention the robbery that had happened, but the potential that her family had been poisoned a few days before, and that just she had seen some kind of nefarious like dealings. Like she had some renters in that were like really angry with them, and said that a cloaked man was seen like walking around the house months ago or whatever. And they just took her all of her statements and got to going on the autopsies, which happened
Far too close to where we were sitting.
Yes.
Like,
in the house.
kind of icky close. Yeah, in the dining room.
Yeah, they got down to the nitty-gritty.
Like, there's a barn, but no. Let's do the autopsy where we eat.
The light's much better in the living room.
That's fine. That would have been better than where
Or
you
the dining
eat.
room. And also, they're not eating there anymore, Andy.
Someone's gonna.
Yeah, but
At some point.
Not the doctor,
Someone's
he
gonna
doesn't.
sit there to do a podcast.
So
it's fine. It wasn't on the table.
in the autopsy, they discover that Andrew has 10 to 11 blows to his, like, literally front of his head, face.
So not 41.
No. And then Abby has 18 blows to her head, some of the side. So they think that whoever attacked her, she may have like been facing and tried to turn and run away from, as
Yeah.
I'm running away from the microphone. And
So she had like, she had it on the side of her head. He had it in the back.
no, he had full front.
Oh, because he was napping.
Yes.
So he would have been laying
wasn't
down.
Like top and front
Yeah.
of face. And then she had the side and back of her head.
So she had the side and the back. Again, I'm not like a forensic
Yeah.
person.
Wait, which side?
I think
I would guess
right?
I would guess right, because the way you come up the stairs, if she's making the bed, you would have to walk around and you would come up on her right side.
so. Also, they think that she might have been on her way to exit the room.
Okay.
So they think that maybe from the way she had fallen, that she
That she had kind of like run back into the room.
yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
that she may have gotten hit once
Yeah.
and then like
Ran
ran.
into the room,
And then
which is
that's
not a
where-
good place because there's nowhere to go.
There's no way out of there.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
but you know,
Admittedly, I've just been hitting the head with the axe. Maybe I'm not making the best choices.
self-true.
or even just like if she was making the bed turned around and then the attacker
Yeah.
was like even at the end of the bed, that would
Yeah.
it would cause like the same amount of or areas of trauma, I guess you could say. So they also decided to remove their heads
Sure,
in the autopsy.
because that's what you
In
do.
the style of the time.
Yeah, and they think, like I said, Abby may have been closer to the door originally than
Yeah.
where her body was actually found. And they're
Not that she was dragged, but she fled.
and they think Abby died between 9 and 10 a.m. and Andrew just before 11 a.m. And Emma had arrived because a telegram was sent to her from the doctor.
Yeah,
And she was like, what the hell
and
is
she's
happening?
like, I have to go home. My parents have been murdered. And they're like, shouldn't you read that first?
And now that kind of starts leading into, obviously there's going to be a trial and the police are looking for a suspect. it was Lizzie and her uncle were like the main suspects. Her uncle was dismissed pretty early on because he just had really good alibis.
Yeah.
Some of the stories get a little mixed, and it wasn't because he had a lack of a good alibi. It was because just the story getting kind of passed down through time changed it a little bit. But he was with people, and they were fully like, yeah, he was here the whole time. So,
yeah,
either not the uncle. They moved on from him pretty quickly and just went right into Lizzie. And there was a couple things, facts, interesting things to take into account for the trial. So, like you said, that Lizzie, she wasn't ever covered in blood.
And these were like brutal murders.
Yes.
Like the crime scene, you can Google it. It's gruesome.
Yes. And so we know that Lizzie's mom was killed earlier. So she would have potentially had time to change.
Mm-hmm.
If it was her dad, she would have just had like minutes, which she could have done.
Yeah.
Potentially.
But still, there's still clothing.
Yes.
You know, I mean, if they're going to look into it.
Where are the dresses? Because
she did end up getting caught a week or so after burning a dress that she said had paint stains on it.
Okay.
And the court dismissed it because they were like, yeah, that's just how we get rid of clothes now, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So that was actually a thing that was brought up, that she was caught getting rid of clothes. And they didn't even take it to account, whatever. They found several hatchets in the basement. They think one of them that had like the claw on one side was the one that was used. Apparently it was found actually without the handle. Or there was also another hatchet that was found that had a red stain on it that they thought was blood.
Yeah.
Which I love forensics for this time because they're like,
it's red.
Yeah.
Blood's red.
Yeah.
Case solved.
And I guess the thing with the hatchet is it gets confusing because there were different statements taken from police officers of what was found.
Yeah.
And they all kind of messed it up. So it came down to police officers like not remembering things correctly or like retelling things correctly, I guess. So
and there's always the possibility that there is another hatchet that they were like, ooh, we should hide this.
Yeah.
Whoever's responsible
just didn't
disposed of it.
Yeah.
Just tossed it in the
well.
The well.
I think I would have gone with the outhouse.
Yeah, the outhouse.
Outhouse, yeah.
And so, like I said, the thing with the hatchets and the evidence around that made it pretty like non-conclusive. Just everything around it, everything about this case was none of it was actually like very conclusive. Other than the fact that they were sure Lizzie.
There were two dead people.
Yeah, they were like, this is it. That's that we know. So on June 5th, 1893, the trial began against Lizzie, and they brought in the removed skulls of her parents. She fainted in the room, the courthouse. I think her sister was obviously there too. I'm sure many other people were there, and it like caused a huge commotion. This was like one of the first really reported on documents, really reported on trials, and which is part of the reason why
probably why it's so famous.
Exactly,
right. Yeah.
And so it caused just a commotion throughout town, not even just in the courthouse. They were like, they brought in the skulls, and they were like trying to recreate how the skulls.
Lizzie, showed us where on the skull that you hit it.
Yeah, and they had like what they thought was a hatchet that did it, and were trying to like fit it in and show how it would fit into an open skull. And overall, there's just like a lot of speculation, nothing actually solid that could convict Lizzie. So she was found not guilty on June 20th, 1893. And after the trial, they didn't live in that house for very long.
Well, who would, really?
Right. And her and her sister get her father's, like, inheritance, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie buys a house up on
we call that motive.
Yes. Lizzie buys a house up on the hill, as they call it, which is, like, where they wanted to be their whole life. That's where, like, the elite of Fall River was.
Yeah.
And she buys Maplecroft, which is for sale now.
She named it Maplecroft.
She named it Maplecroft.
And it is for sale. I think it's like $800,000.
Something like that.
Which is pretty reasonable for a, post-murder mansion.
Yeah. And it actually looks really cool.
Yeah.
And she lives there until she dies and becomes a philanthropist. She's really giving to any animals, like sanctuaries, adoption agencies, whatever's going on in that time. And she died on June 1st.
Pigeon sanctuaries.
Yeah, specifically. She died on June 1st, 1927. Her sister died a few years before her. And I mean, besides her death before then, like, she was just ostracized by the community, her and her sister.
So did the community just assume it was her?
I think it was like 50-50.
Yeah.
Probably more. I'm going to go like 80-20.
Yeah.
If I was in the Times, probably 80-20.
So people felt like she did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it was like just a really bad like vibe around her. And she became more friends with like local artists and performers and stuff like that. Because she just liked that scene.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of rumors and reasons that people have made up over time as to why this could have happened. There's obviously some motive from Lizzie's perspective. Hollywood has made several different like depictions on why it could have happened and like what the reason was. Obviously jealousy of like their stepmom or her stepmom,
which I feel is like the most predominant,
right?
Kind of.
Yeah, upset over money.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. I've seen a couple that say that Andrew was like abusive. I've seen one Hollywood depiction that said like was playing that Maggie was like sexually abused by him. The
maid?
The father, yeah, the maid. Okay. And that she ends up falling in love with Lizzie. And then they conspire together to kill them.
Yeah. That's interesting. I've not heard that one.
Yeah, I mean...
like,
but they were the ones that were there.
Well, yeah, but what happened to Maggie after this?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah, it is. And I actually... I don't know. I think she probably was like, I'm out of here.
No, she's like, I am the F out of here. Because she swore a lot.
She did. And that's like, obviously, that's super Hollywood, like, made up story. But, like, I just think it's interesting that it's unraveled to a story like that. It was a movie on Netflix, I'm pretty sure, or something. You guys check it out. It's got Kristen Stewart in it. She plays Maggie.
Is that the shiny vampire girl?
Yes.
Sparkly vampire girl.
Yeah.
All right. So, Hannah, who do you think and why do you think they were involved?
I think Lizzie did it.
You think she killed them both?
Yeah. I think, like 100%. And it was probably just because she wanted some money.
She could have been a little crazy, too.
Yeah, a little crazy.
Yeah. Fish, do you have a theory?
A little upset about the birds.
God, do I have you know what? Not really. It's...
Wow, you're terrible at this whole podcasting thing.
Yeah, I edit. I don't talk.
Clearly.
Sorry, I will come up with something.
And go.
Maggie did it.
Because?
I don't really have a good reason. Maybe she was being abused. Maybe she was just really sick of this poor, sweet Catholic girl getting just ragged constantly for her religion.
For her swearing?
Yeah.
And like, seriously, you gotta like tone it down a little. And she's like, I'll kill you all!
This poor, cussy Catholic girl is just, look, I'm sick of this, bleep.
Yeah.
Bleep, 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 bleep. And then all that out anyway. And then she just went nuts, because the thing that kind of catches me is...
that she was cleaning the windows, and you think the person cleaning the windows would know what's going on inside the house?
Yeah. And for that matter... 18 and 11 is a lot of axe blows.
Yeah. Oh, they were like whoever killed them was
hit
not
in the head with an axe 18 times.
This was not
This is you are working through some things.
Yeah, this was like, not the most efficient way to kill someone. This is I'm super angry. This is
not a robbery gone wrong. This is somebody personal involved.
Right.
And the one thing is, like you had mentioned, the uncle had been cleared.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever check the alibi, or did they?
Yeah, they checked it.
Okay, because I remember in the law earlier reading or hearing that they just kind of took his word for it and then just
Yeah, so the police had some
Pieced out.
inconsistencies with it. They didn't just take his word for it. They ended up talking to... he wasn't where he initially said he would be, but where he was ended up checking out. Again, long and short of his story.
Yeah.
Well, my theory stands true. Don't mess with pigeons. They will take you down.
But how did they get in, Andy?
First of all, if they can wield an axe, they can pick a lock. And
That's a completely no, I'm sorry. That's
Lizzie said
different.
she left the door unlocked. Was that also?
Mm-hmm.
So the pigeons came in, chop, 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 and they have the perfect escape because they can fly out through the chimney.
That's, yeah.
I know. It is.
So why didn't they just fly in the chimney, Andy? Why did they need an unlocked door?
Well, they could have. I'm just saying the door was unlocked. I'm painting you a picture. It's just all possibilities. And was it 11 axe blows or 41 beak blows?
I think it's
I feel like that could be the same.
definitely interesting that the sister was
No.
away.
Yeah.
I think there's some sort of conspiring that happened that was trying to create...
Well, it sounds
less
like she
suspicion
was
between the two
like
of them.
trying to influence Lizzie from the. Obviously,
Yeah.
she's influencing Lizzie from the beginning, and Lizzie seems a little goofy,
Yeah.
and it's a kind of time where mental illness or mental disorders would not be as well known, and people could be more influential to those people. So it's possible her sister was kind of like, you need to do this.
Yeah,
Okay, but at
and
the
then
same
was like,
time-
I'm going to go, but like,
Yeah,
you got it, right?
At the same time, deciding to diagnose someone with mental illness and then immediately decide, yes, then she decided to hit someone with an axe on the head is
No. I'm
taking a lot of steps in a really uncomfortable direction.
No. I'm just saying.
Like, really, that's not cool, man.
That's not quite what I said.
It's
I mean,
basically what
you're
said.
kind of filling in a lot of blanks. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that we understand now that we don't understand then, or that we didn't understand then, and someone could influence someone who was not mentally capable. I mean,
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But at the same time, she didn't have a history of being violent. She was...
well, no one has a history of violence until they're not violent.
Well, I mean, kind of they do. There's a reason, like, they talk about psychopaths torturing cats. Like,
Yeah, but
cats
she's
and
not a
dogs.
serial killer. This was
No,
not.
but at the same time,
yeah.
someone decided to bludgeon two people to death with an axe. And none of the likely people have like anything that would indicate why they did it. And I just don't love jumping to mental illness as the excuse for any of it.
I wasn't saying that was the reason.
You kind of were.
No, I think you're misconstruing what I was saying, which is normal for you.
I think you're missaying what you were what I was construing.
No.
Well,
But her sister had been influencing her from a very long time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So maybe mental illness is not the right thing, but people can influence other people.
Yes. I'm not saying that all of the issues...
And if there were underlying issues, they may have gone undiagnosed.
Yeah.
Because they were like, it could just be your uterus flying around your body.
yeah.
It's not a
Hold
good...
on, let me go find a vibrator. I can fix this.
Yeah, it's not a good time for medical science.
Anything else?
I don't know. Do you have anything else?
No.
Wasn't there I did hear a rumor from some source that there may have been someone hiding in a closet. Is there any...
No, I don't know if that's like a rumor, but I think because it's such an obvious thing that like an intruder could have come in and hid in a closet and no one would have known.
Yeah. So
The
that
door
was
was
just
open.
kind of like a complete...
Yeah, and which could have happened. Like,
I mean, they could have snuck, like, even if, the sisters conspired, neither one of them actually did it. They brought in someone else because...
that's honestly kind of where like my head is at
Like,
with
I
it.
don't know...
Did they brought someone in?
Yeah.
Or that there was a...
Like, I don't
No,
know
that they
how
brought
strong
someone
in. Yeah.
any of the women involved are to like it's heavy, and it's. I'm not saying they're weak. I'm just saying that.
That's a hatchet.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, you don't have to hit someone that hard with a hatchet to kill them.
No, but at the same
right,
time,
Hannah?
No,
Again, but at the same time, you pick up a hatchet and you swing it 18, 20 times. It's tiring.
It is tiring. It's a lot of work.
Like, I've cut firewood. It's exhausting, and if I'm admittedly not super strong, but I'm still... I don't know. It just seems like it's a lot of physical labor going out there.
Okay.
And I'm just not sure that...
So to recap, Fish is not okay with me saying someone can be influenced if they have mental problems, but he's okay saying ladies can't do that because they're weak. Check your wokeness at the door, my friend. So thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been an interesting podcast. It kind of went off the rails at the end, but that's normal. And so if you have suggestions for our content, you can reach us at oldcolonycast@gmail.com. You can follow us on all the social medias at oldcolonycast. You can check out our new logo. It's pretty dope.
Tis.
Yeah. Thank you, Donnie. And so hit us up on the social medias, and we will catch you in a couple weeks with a new episode. We're kind of on a spooky thing because we're heading into October, and that will continue. And this is the part where we stop talking. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art, except for Instagram, we're at Inebri-art6. You can email us with your questions, complaints, and whatnot at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And if you're looking for more podcasts, you can check out the other podcasts on our network, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror, and, of course, Bar Talk, Old Colony, and Inebri-art Podcast, the original. So check those out and subscribe and comment so we can reach more people, and thanks for listening.